Awesome to be here today. I'm Craig Gillum. Jason, we hooked up in London a few months ago. It was absolutely incredible to meet you. I'm still working through the lessons that I learned from you in our session. But the one thing that was pretty deep and intense for me was you delving into coaching and your genuine passion and interest in coaching and what it could give you. And where I want to pick up on is where are you at? I think I gave you some insight into how coaching can shift your life and how you need to commit to it. But I'm genuinely like, how you doing? It's super to catch up, and let's just have a chat.
Brilliant, I'm keen.
Yeah. So tell me, where are you at? Where are you at in the journey?
So I think, the interest around coaching really came from my background in terms of sports, competitiveness, and also just seeing other sportsmen always attest to having a coach drive their ultimate success. If it's talent, skill, even family, environment, those things are sometimes the difference. But the real difference was they always say, thank you, mom, dad, it's amazing, but my coach. And Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Serena Williams, they all attest to having that candid, supportive, creative coach. So that's actually why I'm interested in coaching. But where I'm at now, I'm actually in an interesting space because with work, I'm actually looking at the coaching that I'm already getting. How do I use those elements to become a coach? You spoke about going from being coachable and then using the tools within your coaching environment to coach others. Because
my whole ethos that we talked about was to be coached. The best thing is to think, how am I going to become that coach? Even if you don't become the coach, it's you're mastering it, right?
Exactly.
I've got this, it's a wonderful saying where to master something, the best way is to teach it. But, one of the things that I found really interesting was often people struggle with the commitment to the relationship with a coach or I'm committing myself to it. And I'm interested where you are in that journey. What I'm a big believer in is what's your dream? And you heard me saying that. And I'd love to unlock that a bit with you today, explore a little bit about how you're going with your dreams. And just in a very open way, it's where you are and where you're feeling uncomfortable maybe, because it's nice exploring those things.
Yes. So I think the conversation we had helped me to mature in terms of the goal I want is to have that perfect coach who's going to make me the best version of myself. But that's relationship. So I do need to commit to the individual I'm working with right now, but it's also actually me committing to wanting to be coached in a direction, right? Because you speak about there's so many different methodologies. Some coaches are just about questioning. Some coaches have a particular process. Some are experienced. Some aren't experienced. So I think I've just matured. So from that from 2-3 months ago, it's like
I'll take that as a compliment.
I've matured and decided I need to actually increase my knowledge around coaching and then ask the right coaching questions of my coach. So the dream is, it's not I don't think I was putting too much pressure on my coach versus being willing to be open enough to be coached.
Which is probably, I sometimes say, and this is the duty is probably yours. In other words, you commit to it because you're not investing in the coach. You are in a way, but you're investing in yourself.
Facts. True.
Where are you? Where are you in that? Because that's interesting.
Where am I in terms of
in your commitment to you? In a very unselfish way.
I think it's a good question. I haven't quantified it in any way, but I think I've committed. I've definitely, if I have to look back, retrospectively, the things I do, how I talk about myself, to myself, the things I don't do. Yeah, and I think because of the commitment in terms of actually showing up on time, actually putting some of the coaching lessons into practice,
Little
actually,
things, little habits.
yeah,
Yeah.
now that I think about it, it changes your life.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't write things down, monitor things. My coach says nothing can be improved if it's not measured.
Yeah.
And like I measure most things, but it's like the important things you don't, because it's actually hard to find that almost habit to look at it. So something like finances, right?
Yeah.
You can make spreadsheets, you can have all these apps, but the habit of actually looking at your bank account almost every second, it's like why? Why should I do it? Because it's like losing weight. If you wanted to lose weight, you'd actually check.
Yeah.
But it's not like, oh yeah, it's gonna happen without constantly measuring. So yeah, that's why it's a good question. I've never actually thought about where I'm at.
And tell me, I mean, we all have bad days, right? Sometimes we stress a bit. We get into. Are you finding coaching is helping you deal with that moment better than you've done before? In other words, shifting mindset quicker than you have before, getting into a more positive space when you're actually in a negative space. What is working for you? What is working for you? I'm interested.
Yeah, so it might sound weird, like stress. I don't get stressed too much because I go to war. I'm an avid sports person, so I do get stressed, but I bottle it up. And then when it's bottled up, I take it out in the gym. So that's probably the truth. So in moments, I'm like sometimes like fluid. I'm not trying to like impose my stress on other people. But what coaching has done for me is giving me a safe space to look at things from another angle. So openly, and sometimes I can come off looking arrogant. And my coach has said, let me know what those people are receiving because of who I actually am, Or sometimes I can.
You're not a confident guy.
Confidence is, and that's the thing I've learned. Confidence is like there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, right? So
I know.
But if you actually get to know me, I'm actually almost, what do I say? I don't want to belittle myself now, but like actually I'm shy. So it's
so am I actually. I used to take my mum's skirt. Which my wife can't believe anyway.
So it's giving me perspective. I think that what's working for me is giving me that safe space to be like, dude, you're actually looking at this wrong, or mate, you actually did this wrong, or you're actually going in the right direction, but you're overthinking things.
And tell me, have you started setting yourself? It sounds like you have little goals, little habits. That you're getting the help with your coach on, and they're allowing you to get out of, like, let's say, a negative space. Because I'm as well the same. I don't stress much. But I can be a bit brutal saying if you don't have a gun to your head, it's not stress, which is not fair in many instances. But what's helping you? What's helping you deal with, I know last time I shared with you, dream a bit. Is that helping you? That just putting yourself, where do I want to be in a year? What are the things that are important to me?
Yeah.
Is that taking shape still? Where are you on that journey? Because that's important. I think I'd be wanting you to try and lock that.
Yeah. So interesting, I just turned 30. And like my coach has said, okay, what are your 5 to 10 year goals? But it was written down, and we've got into like 2-3 months of it, and like I don't feel like I'm moving in that direction. Why? I'm impatient. Like I sprint while it should be a marathon. So to answer your question, I've started thinking in decades, and I've started to say, what are people saying about me in terms of the value I'm creating while I'm 40? Who am I with? How am I spending my time, and what work am I doing? So I've started thinking like that, and it actually has changed how I'm approaching work. Like I want to be able to be saying that I'm actually coaching. By the time I'm 40, I've built out like some digital product that is enabling more people to be able to do a lot of things that I've learned. Versus me doing it for them. So it's more decade thinking.
Have you done any visualization to support that? Because I love if I said to you, pick a favorite place in the world, right? And place yourself there. Sometimes the time doesn't matter, but I say place yourself there in 5 years. and look back and go, you're feeling just on top of the world. Everything that you may have not thought you wanted to achieve has been achieved. And you ask yourself, how do I feel? What is it that I've achieved? And use that as what I call your North Star, your dream.
Yeah.
And it will change too, but that doesn't matter. Have you, because that sometimes I find, sometimes we get like goals and measurable. Sometimes the visualization, which I never used to be comfortable with, because I've worked with some people, coached some people that I've loved who had no idea about their dream. And I said, well, what do you love doing? And they might love cycling. So it's a case of, well, what would you like to achieve just from a cycling perspective? Yeah. And the shift starts becoming less about work. But I think I'm interested. Does that?
So So you probably think I might have mentioned this. So I always talk about, not always, the last maybe 5 years, just because I've traveled a lot. I've been through like different things with friends. What I'm doing now, will it serve 60-year-old Jason? I think I told you that story. Basically, it's like sometimes we center most of our goals around like work, which is not bad because 60-70% of the time spent is at work, but work can be fulfilling in terms of what that time is spent outside. And I think by the time I'm 60, I'm retired from work, but I'll still be doing work. But it's, I say like 60-year-old Jason should be able to compete if he's blessed with children on the beach. I see myself running, canoeing, like some. Like
so look at what you're touching there. You talk about you've got family in there. You've got health in there. And there'll be some ambition with work. So in my view, that's a lot of people might call that harmony or balance. The only thing is, and this will always come up, balance is a personal thing. Because at some stage you might be 80% balanced because of work, but then you'll go, I need to reset because of that dream that I've got, Jason at 60. And I think if you've got some Jason at 60, it's your most powerful weapon. Genuinely, I think it's your most powerful weapon. And I'm not here, but in a more of a mentoring way, please use that. Don't give up on that. And that's what I'll say, like, that's your dream. And I'm guilty sometimes of, you've got the dream, but keep dreaming, because it does change. It might deviate a little bit. And I love Stephen Bartlett because he's a great influencer around, we all fail at stuff, but I've got this ethos, you can't really fail because you've maybe made 10 steps in a direction that needs 20. 10's better than 0. And I mean, all I see with you is this great ascendancy, and I think you're a lot more committed to your coaching journey. You were skeptical, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's a good perspective. I was skeptical.
I mean, much like you told me to stop, to slow down. I'm loving the investment you're making in yourself. How does that make you feel when you hear that?
I guess the feedback on what happened in London is bubbling up. So I'm like, interesting. I was open to you. So I think, how do I feel? Like it's raw. I feel raw, but at the same time, because there's improvement on that rawness, it's like I feel good. But at the same time, I feel naked. I'm like, oh yeah.
But that's how you got to feel, right? It's hard. You know the word vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
So we both feel it, but that's the coachee. We both feel vulnerable because we're both exposing ourselves. And if you can bring that into the work, it's beautiful, I think. Makes you more understanding of others, them understanding of you. Imagine if everyone knew what Jason's dream was. Surrounding yourself with people in your personal life, in your work life.
I think it's a tricky one because I'm communicating that dream. Like, so basically, like, you have a top-down approach in your organization. Dream is not necessarily moving the team forward, but the team are moving what they see in front of them. Dream is naturally sometimes have a bird's eye view on things. So that's where I get a bit tricky. It's like, and I've been in both positions. I'm a dreamer, but like sometimes you have to like take a step back and understand the today team and the tomorrow team. And like, unless I'm not understanding you correctly, even the today team should be able to communicate dreams, but they're only working with things what in front of them. It's like, I need to get to this meeting so that I can make sure that the client's happy. Because when the client's happy, then the rest of the team is happy, and when the rest of the team is happy, then
No,
the boss is happy.
I agree with you. Look, I mean, I sometimes say, even to myself, a dream doesn't need to be a big thing. A dream could be, I want to run a 5-kilometer race, and give yourself that goal. A lot of people need little steps first. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I've got 2 kids, right? An 18 and a 16-year-old. You'd be wrong to think you can try coach them. But to try give them the gift of, you should always, like my daughter's just gone to university, and I say to her, whatever your dreams are, never give up on them. And I asked my daughter recently, what are your dreams? And I won't go into it, but she had something, it was little, right? And I went, wow, and I said to her, keep that, bottle that, and keep going. And my son, I couldn't go near asking him for his dream. He'd go, Dad, get away, it's bloody nonsense. But, and I could never coach my wife. That would be, it's just, go away, don't want to know. So you're right. Sometimes it's things you need to work through. But I love what you said, you're learning and you've got that emphasis of wanting to help coach others, what you're learning. I mean, some of my journey, which I shared with you, was 18 months ago. A coach transformed my life.
Yes.
And my energy then was investing in myself to become, I wanted to share all this joy with others. But in actual fact, everyone's different. So you need to, so I'm growing all the time and learning all the time.
What's that experience like? Because you shared how you quickly absorbed all that information, all that coaching tactics, and became, not to say better than the coach who coached you, but you became a challenger to your current coach.
Yeah.
Now must be like a year later, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd always say, my coach, I'd never go like I've become better than you or anything. I'd never look at it that way. I'd look at everyone does a path of learning, and coaching is for individuals too. So as a coach, my growth actually comes, I've always been a practitioner. So what that means is the more I'm practicing, the more I'm learning. And I can tell you, and I've shared this with you before. So 3 years ago was like, you think about retirement, Jason at 60, Craig at 60. You go, I'm not quite sure what that is. But then something went off for me and go, I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. It's a very different thing. And if I can help people, having been a consultant my whole life, which has been transforming organizations, whether it's about more profits, better product, better customer experience, I'm not taking my eye off that ball. But if you can help with the people element to drive that, and then all of a sudden you can have this dream about, if I can make a little difference to people's mindset, to make them feel better at home, better in their lives, better at work, that's what keeps me fully energized all the time. And it's having experienced that after feeling myself personally that I was waiting for something to happen, after having a coaching program from Benjamin Hardy, Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He was the author of 10x is easier than 2x, which is another thing that transformed my thinking. I was, wow, don't lose sight of the dream. And in actual fact, if I can share that with others and help, for me, that's a beautiful thing. So that's the discussion we almost had in London. You saw my energy and were asking me because of something you were struggling with. And in actual fact, all I could say was, don't look at the coach, look at Jason. And like I say, you're looking at Jason, and that for me is for me, that's 3 months later, we're meeting now in Cape Town.
Yeah.
And what I see is you on a journey, and it looks like you're enjoying it. So
where do you see most coaches approach coaching wrong, or not wrong, but let's say in a way that you would want to change with what you're doing now? Because it sounds like don't approach it from the goals point of view.
Every coach is different, right? So it's it would be wrong for me to be hypercritical, because I can do things that are wrong. But I think a common goal's got to be to provide the tools for an individual or a team or an organization to cope with change and changing mindset. and sometimes it can often be focused on the now and trying to solve a problem. You can often start that way. But some of the best conversations in business you can have by asking one question: how you feeling? And that can be you trying to maybe even sell something, and you can start the conversation. Tell me how you're feeling, and then from there, go, okay. Based on that, you might now clearly understand what you might want from a business perspective, from an individual. So I don't want to be too critical on coaches. I think every coach most coaches have been trained in a way that they're thinking about the emotional side. They're focused on the thought process. There are actions that you are taking, and that they drive results. The only difference I would say that I like to bring is some results you might not achieve. Don't see that as a bad thing. See that as you've grown, but also that ability to deal with day to day where I've had something really bad go on, but Jason 60 comes into your mind. That's not bad. So I love shifting into mindset and the power of mindset. Coaching even is a word that I feel belittles coaching. My son is a footballer, and he's sometimes confidence is the thing. But in actual fact, if you spoke to him, you mentioned the word coaching, you say, I don't want a therapist. So there are so many, people get nervous by coaching. But in actual fact, it's just a relationship where you can have a discussion and probably learn a little bit about yourself and the person that's coaching you.
Yeah, because I think I asked the question because everybody's becoming a coach. Right?
Yeah. I met someone yesterday who's been running a coaching business for 30 years, and she said that's why. She said everyone's
becoming a coach.
Yeah.
Now that word is becoming, change. Words are powerful. Yeah. So that's pretty cool, like you say that. But then it's going to become there's this type of marketing, there's inbound marketing, this marketing. Yeah. Now it's like confidence coaching, I don't know, goal setting coaching.
Yeah. Life coaching, you get exec coaching. I mean, there's so many different nuances. If I ask you a question, just as Jason, what's the most impactful thing for you? What works for you versus, because and what doesn't? Because that's nice for everyone to hear, right? It's that's just
in a coaching setting.
Yeah, it's not what food you like.
It's that visualization, or at least the structured approach that I can use when trying to solve life problems. Yeah. So that's like a matrix, or like it's like a sieve. Do you know a sieve? A sieve has specific holes. Yeah. And those holes actually don't change. So whatever the problem is, it'll go through the sieve. But let's say it's like big rice, it'll move this way because those holes are a bit bigger. And the water will go out this way. So then you're splitting your problems. That's what works for me. So basically, I like your analogy around raft. Yeah. Raft has.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to dig into that because you're talking about it.
Yeah, but that makes sense for me, because we're all at war.
Yeah.
And we have certain tools. Or if you want to call it weapons that we can use. Some people are better at arrows. Yeah. Some people are better at guns. Some people are better at shielding. Yeah. If you find what works for you.
So you like that, did you? So
I enjoy that.
So that was quite simple, wasn't it? It was saying, when we met in London, I said, look, think about it this way. You're thinking something, right? Those thoughts are driving some emotion. How are you feeling? Those feelings are giving rise to actions. They are things you can control. They will lead to the result. Now that's raft back to front, right? Results, actions, feelings, thoughts. It's so simple, but in actual fact, as you know, when we have a problem, we often choose the wrong action because
we're thinking about the wrong thing.
We probably go like, why am I feeling this way? And then try to deal with that emotion and go like, what can I change to not? What I find really helpful for me, and this is for me, is when I move, like the result I'm after is actually this. So let's say I'm having a bad day with you. I go, well, the result I want is we're going to be this super duo in business and in life. So why would I choose to piss you off even more, or just choose an action that is defeatist? And I find that's how I use ROVs in my life. Bad day, going like, and almost instantaneously, I'm going, but the result I'm after is like, so Just choose a different action.
Yeah, and it's like, if I think about it like in a relationship, right? So if you really love your wife or your girlfriend, before you normally do something that would piss him or her off, you actually think about it and you mean like, that probably pisses them off. I'm not going to do that action.
Yeah.
Because it's going to have so it works for me. I like raft.
Yeah.
What's fun about it, I also like the act of being on a raft.
Yeah.
Like, you're like on a raft. And, it sounds fun. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. Listen, I think the journey you're on is awesome. I'm super glad that you've committed. But it's also nice to get the questions back, right? And they should never stop. But I think you're on the journey of being a coach. And
I don't think I want to be called a coach.
Exactly, because you don't like the
word. I don't think I don't like the word.
Yeah.
I like what coaching can do.
Yeah.
Right. So I apply myself to learn from coaches.
Yes.
And in the act, I am coaching, but I don't consider myself boxed into being a coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think it's a bad word.
It's a talent. Or it's something, isn't it? I mean, in your work, you're helping people. It's what you're doing. You're out there.
If I think about it, Lionel Messi doesn't call himself a soccer player.
Yeah.
He calls himself the best striker in the world.
Yeah.
Or he calls himself a team player. I help Argentina win the World Cup.
Yeah.
But by the way, I play soccer.
Yeah.
I don't think he would actually interview himself and be like, oh, don't get me wrong, he might. But I don't
He's
think...
being smart. He's actually focusing on the small dreams he's trying to
have you seen the ads? He's like, who I am. I'm actually the little boy who dreamt about uplifting my country and making them a brand. Through football, I did it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. By the way, I did it, and I became the best.
Yeah. And that's inspirational, isn't it? I mean, that's amazing. I haven't heard that, so I find that wonderful.
There's a lot of ads.
The way you communicate that.
There's a lot of ads going on now. As opposed to boy.
Yeah. Cool. Listen, awesome. Great to spend time. Always is. I'm looking forward to your next trip to London. Thank you. Yes, I think it's going to be next year, April. No, thanks, Greg. Very happy to have you in the mother city of Cape Town. Yeah, no, it's nice to be here. Yeah, very good. Amazing. Nice one, mate.